It's highlighted. It says choir keys are highlighted. Just to clarify, everybody, we sing "O Canada" and "God Save the Queen" in the same key that you played. Thanks for the clarification.
You don't want parallel sectors?
I like to try and sound very good. Just make sure you're parallel.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, and welcome to 2021 Remembrance Day service at Vancouver's Victory Square. My name is James Stanton. I'm the Director of Ceremonies for today's service. I am a veteran, as was my father. As is customary on Remembrance Day, here at Victory Square, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. On this Remembrance Day, we wish to pay special tribute to Cameron Cathcart, who passed away earlier this year. Cam was one of the organizers for the revitalization of Victory Square and helped initiate the placement of the Legion poppy signs you see on the street near here at Victory Square and around the city as a testimonial to those who served our nation. Cam brought his love of Canada and our history to his role of Director of Ceremonies for Vancouver's Remembrance Day service from 2002 to 2020. He was on the original committee that organized Honor House, a home away from home in New Westminster for veterans and first responders seeking medical attention for themselves or their families. CAM was active on numerous heritage committees and always had a mission to make Vancouver a better place. When you cross the Burrard Street Bridge, look up at the restored braziers at either end. They are there now in their lighted, refurbished, working condition because of CAM. He was taken from us too soon, gone but not forgotten. God rest his soul. It is my honor to follow in his footsteps. To ensure safety protocols, we have asked the public to stay away from Victory Square. After years of encouraging people to come here, it's ironic that we now ask you, please stay away. We've encouraged people to remain at home and watch the ceremony on television or live stream on Facebook. There is a small military unit on parade, and only official wreaths will be placed at the cenotaph. We are grateful to Global TV for their generosity in covering the service, to their live television audience, providing it to CTV and CBC, and live streaming on Facebook during this difficult time. Thanks to all of you on behalf of those watching at home. As we begin today's service, we want to thank the City of Vancouver for their generous support, particularly given the challenges presented by the ongoing pandemic. Our ceremony here today is the only remembrance service held in Canada that is organized solely by a municipality. Thanks again to Mayor Stewart and his dedicated city staff. We will remember, and we are free. Simple words, heavy with significance. If you look at my left lapel, you'll see the familiar Royal Canadian Legion poppy. Each November, poppies bloom on the lapels and collars of millions of Canadians. The significance of the poppy can be traced back to the Napoleonic Wars of the 19th century. Records from that time indicate how poppies grew up over the graves of soldiers around Flanders in Belgium. During the tremendous bombardment of those wars, the chalk soils became rich in lime from rubble, allowing the poppies to thrive. Poppies were seen on those same battlefields in World War I by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae of Guelph, Ontario, a Canadian medical officer. Colonel McCrae penned his famous poem, In Flanders Fields, on a scrap of paper in May 1915, on the day following the death of a fellow soldier, 27-year-old Lieutenant Alexis Helmer. The idea for a Remembrance Day poppy was adopted by Canadian veterans at a meeting in Port Arthur, Ontario, now Thunder Bay. Today, 100 years later, the poppy continues to be worn during the Remembrance period to honor Canada's fallen. Because of ongoing concerns over COVID restrictions and distancing protocols, the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band and band soloist Battalion Chief Andrew Greenwood are situated at HMCS Discovery today. We'd normally have them right here. Battalion Chief Greenwood, who is returning this year, will be accompanied by the band, Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band, who are getting ready to play. For those of you at home, please stand if you are able and join us in singing O Canada.
Hooray! Attention! Parade! Stand at ease!
Thank you, Major Vinning. Thank you, Andrew, and the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band. Each year, an original poem written by a Vancouver School Board student is selected as the Poem of Remembrance for November the 11th. This program was initiated by Cam Cathcart. This year, despite pandemic restrictions, we continue that tradition to showcase Canadian youth. Today, we welcome our winning poet, Mika Nansen, now attending the University of British Columbia. His poem, The Forgotten Algonquin, was written when he was in grade 12. Mika?
The Forgotten Algonquin. Hunter, sniper, bush, field. Sweetgrass, poppies, stories not healed. Together you fought, alone you died. Prayers, cries, totems, graves, spirits, ghosts, ancestors who wait. Together you fought, alone you died. Chants, songs, bannock, bread, arrows, cannons, call of the dead. Together you fought, alone you died. This poem is dedicated to all the First Nations soldiers who gave their lives so that we could all enjoy freedom. You were never truly thanked by your country, but we will never forget you, just as we will never forget every soldier who fought bravely for this great land. This poem was inspired by my reading of the novel 3-Day Road by Joseph Boyden.
Here to present Mika with a certificate of appreciation is Mayor Kennedy Stewart. Mika will also be awarded the first ever Cameron Cathcart Youth Poem of Remembrance Award.
Thank you so much, Mika, for your moving poem. I'm pleased to present you with this certificate of appreciation and recognition of your composition and the reading of The Forgotten Algonquin. It is my honor also to present you with the inaugural Cameron Cathcart Youth Poem of Remembrance Award. This check for $250 from the BC Regiment Association Charitable Trust is a bursary established in memory of Cam, who in 2006 started the tradition of inviting a youth to read an original poem at this Remembrance Day ceremony. Cam was passionate about engaging youth in Remembrance Day to ensure that we continue to remember the sacrifices made by our military to keep our country safe and to provide us with the freedoms we enjoy today. We are grateful to Cam for his support to young writers like you, Mika, so that we can continue to hear the powerful and moving words of our youth at this ceremony for years to come. And on a personal note, I must say that I will very much miss Cam and his guidance to me and to others through this ceremony. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Mika.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Stewart. We are grateful to the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band, and particularly Acting Lieutenant Chris Coleman, for providing transportation for Mika and his mother Pam to this event. Thank you very much. We now return to HMCS Discovery to enjoy a performance by the Saraband Chamber Choir under the direction of Shane Rahman. Saraband will now sing The White Cliffs of Dover, a song made popular during the Second World War when it was sung by Dame Vera Lynn. Because all of us are experiencing the effects of isolation during COVID pandemic and the need to feel hope for the future, this familiar World War II song is an appropriate choice for today. Here is the Saraband Chamber Choir, directed by Shane Rahman, performing The White Cliffs of Dover.
Over the white cliffs
That was a wonderful performance by the Saraband Chamber Choir. Thank you all. They will return to perform again at the conclusion of today's service. Parade Commander.
Parade! Attention! Remove headdress!
Here to read the traditional prayer of remembrance is Chaplain Captain Eduardo Aristizabal, Chaplain to the Royal New Westminster Regiment. Chaplain.
It is an honor to stand today in the presence of our veterans, remember those who fought with courage, upholding values of peace and freedom, respecting the freedom of conscience, religion, and beliefs of each person. I invite you now to take a few moments in silent reflection or to join me in prayer. En respect de la liberté de conscience, de religion et de croyance de chaque personne, je vous invite maintenant à prendre un temps de réflexion silencieuse ou bien à vous joindre à ma prière. Source of peace, we give thanks for the sacrifice of all servicemen and women, those who have died upholding our values of justice and peace, and those who return and still carry wounds of service in body and soul, each one remembered by and known to you. We remember the families, friends, comrades, and caregivers of those who have served and fought under the Canadian flag. Be their refuge and strength in moments of grief. We stand proud remembering the contribution of many in the peacekeeping missions of the past. They have set an example for future generations. May each one of us be agents of peace wherever we go. We pray for all military members who are deployed around the world. Grant them courage to give their best. And we join their families, friends, and all who pray for their safe return. As we continue to wear the poppy every year as a symbol of hope, let us never forget those who have gone before, because in remembering, we draw strength and resilience, source of peace, source of truth and justice. As we honor the past, may we have faith for the future. For you are the source of life and hope, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain. Parade Commander.
Parade! Replace headdress! Parade! Stand at ease!
"2021 marks the 80th anniversary of one of Canada's most tragic but forgotten battles. In World War II, Canadian soldiers first engaged combat while defending the British Crown colony of Hong Kong against a Japanese attack in December 1941. The Canadians fought against overwhelming odds and displayed the courage of seasoned veterans. They had virtually no chance of victory, but refused to surrender until they ran out of ammunition and were overrun by the enemy. For his heroic actions in repulsing Japanese troops, Winnipeg Grenadier Company Sergeant Major John R. Osborne was awarded Canada's first Victoria Cross of World War II. Those who survived the battle became prisoners of war, and many endured unspeakable torture and starvation by their Japanese captors. Of the 1,975 Canadians who went to Hong Kong, more than 1,050 were either killed or wounded. This was a casualty rate of more than 50%, arguably one of the highest in any Canadian theatre of action in the Second World War. The number of Canadian Second War veterans in Canada is steadily diminishing. From the estimated 1 million Canadian men and women who left their homes beginning in 1939, Veterans Affairs Canada estimates less than 40,000 are still with us. All of those who remain, the average age is 94. Please be seated. Vancouver recently lost one of its World War II veterans, Agnes Keegan. During World War II, she served in the Auxiliary Transport Service in Great Britain as a mechanic truck driver. Honorary Captain Keegan passed away recently at age 101. May she rest in peace. It hasn't been a peaceful world since what was called the War to End All Wars ended in 1918, or the end of the Second War in 1945. The Korean War broke out in 1950, followed by a 30-year-long Cold War that saw Russia and the West on the brink of nuclear annihilation. Canada led the world in deploying its armed forces as peacekeepers, starting in Egypt in 1956. Thousands of Canadian men and women have been deployed on peacekeeping missions around the world. More than 130 have paid the supreme sacrifice. Canadian military personnel served in Europe as part of NATO for decades. Canada's mission in Cyprus lasted from 1964 to 1993, and over 25,000 Canadians served on that island. 28 Canadians lost their lives over the course of Canada's 30-year mission in Cyprus, making it the second deadliest peacekeeping mission in our country's history. In 1993, Canada's secret war took place in the former Yugoslavia. Canadian soldiers from the 2nd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, augmented by reserve soldiers from the Vancouver area regiments, and Croatian troops engaged in a pitched battle at the Medak Pocket, eventually resulting in the Canadian troops driving off a Croatian assault and averting further ethnic cleansing by the Croats. This engagement is one of the most severe battles fought by Canadian armed forces since the Korean War. Following the attack of the World Trade Center in New York, Canada deployed its armed forces to fight the Taliban in Afghanistan in 2002. More than 40,000 Canadians served in this conflict, 159 were killed, and more than 2,000 were wounded. This was Canada's longest war. Canadian troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2014. Today, we salute our veterans of every generation for their service to Canada and wish them good health, particularly those who have suffered physical and emotional injury, and special thanks to those who care for them. Now we are involved in another battle, the continuing war against the coronavirus. This means that, like all older citizens, many of our aging veterans are faced with a new enemy, not overseas, but here at home. As this war continues to take lives, the Canadian Forces stepped up as usual. As the pandemic continued to unfold, the military deployed personnel to assist long-term care facilities in Quebec, Ontario, Nunavut, as well as many isolated First Nation communities across this vast land. Currently, we have significant troop deployment in Latvia, Ukraine, Mali, Uganda, the Congo. More than 2,000 men and women serve on over 20 missions around the world. Today's serving men and women of the armed forces continue to stand ready to assist their fellow Canadians at home, responding to forest fires or floods, or, as we've just witnessed, caring for Canadians coping with the killer coronavirus. We thank them for their valuable service. We must also be mindful of the needs of some of our younger veterans by extending our hand of care and compassion after they return home. We need to avoid being judgmental and support and advocate for them where and when we can. When you greet a veteran, thank him or her for their service, and if possible, thank their families. Remember the words of William Shakespeare in Henry V. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. We now approach the time in today's program when individual memories are rekindled to honor the sacrifice of so many Canadians during the wars of the last 200 years. While the last post signifies the end of World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, followed by the lament, it is more important than ever to remember our fallen of all wars and missions on this sacred day by by wearing the red poppy, lest we forget. After Last Post is played, there will be 2 minutes of silence. The lament will then be played by Corporal B.C. Crooks, Seaforth Highlanders of Canada. Last Post will be sounded by Vancouver Fire Rescue Services retired Assistant Chief Joe Foster and retired Battalion Chief Dan McClellan. 2 minutes of silence will follow Last Post. The Piper's Lament will then be played by Corporal Crooks. Rouse is then sounded by Vancouver Fire Rescue Services retired firefighters Foster and McClellan. In the distance, you will hear the 105 millimeter guns of 15 Field Artillery Regiment firing the 21 gun salute from the grounds of HMCS Discovery at Stanley Park. The annual fly past by the RCAF Aurora aircraft will occur at approximately 11:05, weather permitting, followed by a squadron of aircraft from the Poppy Flight, a volunteer group of aviators who fly in commemoration of all those who sacrificed their lives in our wars. These flypasts take place every Remembrance Day to honor the memory of more than 1,000 Canadian aircrew killed or missing from Bomber Command or in fighter squadrons during World War II. Break record.
Parade! Attention!
Thank you, Piper. We will now hear Rouse.
Parade! Cadet Eve!
Those of you, please be seated. Those of you that know Cam will be pleased to know that we had the 11 o'clock, 2 minutes of silence at exactly 11 o'clock. We now begin the placement of official wreaths. The wreath layers should move into position, physically distancing around the cenotaph. The wreaths will be placed as the names of the organizations or associations are announced by me. The Silver Cross recipient laying the wreath today is Ms. Sandra Weisinger, mother of Master Corporal Joe Alina. Master Corporal Alina served with the Seaforth Highlanders of Canada for 9 years before transferring to the 2nd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, where he served for 6 more years. He deployed to Bosnia and 3 times to Afghanistan. Master Corporal Alina died in 2018. During the placement of official wreaths, the band and choir will perform the introduction and the first chorus of the Maple Leaf Forever. And there's our Aurora aircraft right on time from the Long Range Patrol Squadron in Comox, British Columbia. As the wreaths are placed, the choir will perform the intro and first chorus of the Maple Leaf Forever, followed by Abide With Me. We will now begin placing the wreaths. Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Herman Ho, Chief of the Lieutenant Governor's Cadre of Honorary Aides de Camp, on behalf of the Honorable Janet Austin. Veterans of the Canadian Army, Colonel Retired Leon Jensen and Captain Bob Wojnicki. Veterans of the Royal Canadian Air Force, Ian Whitting, President 801 Wing, RCAF Association. Government of Canada, the Honourable Harj Sajjan, Minister of International Development. The British Columbia Legislature, the Honorable Melanie Mark, Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport. Consular Corps of British Columbia, Dean of the Consular Corps, Bernice Diaz Ceballos, Consul General of Mexico, and Nicole Davidson, Consul General of the United Kingdom. City of Vancouver, Mayor Kennedy Stewart, accompanied by Fire Chief Karen Fry, and Vancouver Police Deputy Chief Fiona Wilson. Army, Navy, and Air Force veterans in Canada, Michael McDonald, past president, and son, Ian McDonald. Royal Canadian Legion, Val McDonald, President, British Columbia, Yukon Command. Serving members of the Canadian Forces, Commodore Missouri, Royal Canadian Navy, Major General Rob Roy Mackenzie, Canadian Army. Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Assistant Commissioner Maureen Levy, and Sergeant Quinn Provo. Youth of Canada, Georgia Anderson, Girl Guide, and Matthew Halupka, member of 46 Chown Scout Troop. International Order, Daughters of the Empire, Gail Delaney, past provincial president, and Elizabeth Worcester, provincial treasurer. Silver Cross recipient Sandra Weisinger, mother of Master Corporal Joe Alina of the Seaforth Highlanders of Canada, accompanied by her husband and daughter. Mr. Delorme is accompanied by his grandson, Darwin Delorme. That concludes the wreath laying ceremony. Due to the space limitations of this site and to allow for proper physical distancing, we were not able to invite other organizations to place wreaths at the cenotaph during today's ceremony. We are sympathetic and share your disappointment. We trust you will understand. Wreaths ordered by other organizations were placed at the cenotaph earlier today by the Vancouver Poppy Fund. We thank those organizations for ordering wreaths from the Poppy Fund, whose proceeds go to the Legion to help Canada's veterans and their families. Now, to conclude today's Remembrance ceremony, soloist Andrew Greenwood is about to return along with the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band to sing God Save the Queen. Parade Marshal.
Parade! Attention!
Following this, and through to the end of today's program, the wonderful Saraband Chamber Choir will perform two final songs, In Flanders Fields and Until We Meet Again. The City of Vancouver wishes to send out a special thanks to several people and organizations. Please be seated. First, to Vanden Kerkhoff and Son Masonry for their splendid work in cleaning the cenotaph for today's service. Second, to the Vancouver Veterans Escort Team for making sure our veterans are transported to the cenotaph. Third, to Great Lakes Production for the cleaning and refurbishing the helmets on top of the lampposts, converting the obsolete lamps around the cenotaph to energy-efficient LED lights, and for making generous donation that made possible the Cam Cathcart Youth Poem of Remembrance Award. Finally, to the British Columbia Regiment Association Charitable Trust, Ted Hawthorne and Bill Diamond, for establishing the Cameron Cathcart Youth Poem of Remembrance Fund in perpetuity. As the ceremony draws to a close, I am reminded of the words of the poet Lawrence Benyon. They shall not grow old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor do the years condemn them. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. This concludes the 2021 Remembrance Day service from Victory Square in Vancouver. Thank you for attending by watching from home. A special thanks to Global Television and their media colleagues at CTV and CBC for covering today's ceremony. Keep well, stay safe, and enjoy the freedom our veterans gave us through their service. The Vancouver Fire Rescue Services Band will play Colonel Bogey to end the ceremony from the grounds of HMCS Discovery. Parade Commander.
Parade! Carry on! Not just the corporal, sir.
The shepherd will tell